Hey, everybody, this is Chris with Surf Financial Brokers, and this is our brand new YouTube channel show. We've been posting things on YouTube for a long time, but we're finally interviewing somebody who knows what they're talking about. So today we've got Carl Willis here with us. Carl is the CEO of the agent branding and marketing firm. They do a lot of focus on helping insurance agents market themselves and things like that. But what we're going to talk about today is a lot of different things, hopefully in a real short time. Um, and one of the things we were just talking about before we got on here was being financial advisors. And Carl was telling me that he had his Series 7. I used to have my 6 and 63. And I can tell you for a fact that it wasn't as lucrative and as glorious and all the fame and fortune as I thought it was going to be. What are your thoughts on that, Carl?
Yeah, well, first of all, you said that somebody was coming on that knew what they were talking about. So I'm still wondering when that person's showing up. But yeah, it's the thing is, for me anyway, with the Series 7, I had fiduciary responsibility for people's money. And the thing that really concerned me was I didn't control the decisions that were being made in the economic environment that really were going to affect people's money. And that's ultimately why I ended up closing down my practice. 2010 in particular, 2008, 2009, 2010, the Federal Reserve was dumping money into the markets under quantitative easing. They were actually propping up the markets, dumping $80 billion a month into the bond markets to stimulate the economy. And I'm like, I don't want to be responsible for somebody's retirement money or somebody's legacy money in a market that is being artificially propped up.
Yeah,
So it wasn't for me just about maintaining my licenses and, the testing and the compliance and all that. It was, I have to sit across from Joe and Mary who worked all their lives to accumulate this wealth or build up their retirement savings, and they've got hopes and dreams and they've got kids and grandkids that they want to do things for, and I'm trying to help them navigate through a process that is so out of control. And then the realization was there were things that I really needed to recommend that they do that I was not allowed to suggest because it was not a stock, bond, mutual fund, option, limited partnership, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah.
So, it just kind of was like,
That
that's
was
not
a that was a rough time to be in that field. And I was working back in the day with Northwestern Mutual, and they wanted me to go get my securities license. And right when I mean, literally like 2007. So everybody knew it was coming. It was just like, when's this going to happen? And it was bad. And my clientele wasn't the guy that had $2 million in the bank or anything like that. It was, well, can I put $50 into an account for my
yeah.
retirement? And it just wasn't working. And I said, look, let's concentrate on just selling some life insurance or the disability, or let's play defense rather than trying to play offense. And you know, I'm for me, it's just a lot less. Their compliance is just too crazy. You can't even advertise. I knew people that weren't even allowed to be on social media at all,
Mhm.
and because their broker dealer wouldn't allow it and things like that. So I said, I feel like I'm playing with one hand tied behind my back.
I
But
think that's fair. I think that's fair.
yeah,
It's kind of funny you say that, Chris. You and I have had great conversations, and I know your sense of humor, so you'll appreciate this. So I got my Series 7, licensing in 1998. I opened my firm in 1999. And as you'll recall, the tech bubble burst shortly thereafter.
Yep.
And then 9/11 happened. The 3 months after I actually went out on my own and opened my own office. Um, and so as a Series 7 advisor, I went through the tech bubble burst, 9/11, the 2008 housing crash, and quantitative easing. And so,
Yeah.
between all of those things, I kind of realized, yeah, I just don't know that there's a future here for me. Yeah,
You might you might want to check and see if you have a little PTSD going there.
That's it.
Well, let's switch over to the insurance side of things here a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, you do a lot of marketing for insurance agents, but this of course our audience here is on the other end of that. They're wanting to
That's right.
know, how can they find agents who have what they need, or some agents, I've known agents that specialize in things, life and health agents that, well, I only do annuities or I only do disability insurance and things like that. um, if they're looking for something in particular, other than just going and hitting Google and typing in life insurance near me, um, which seems to be the
Yeah.
the default mode lately. What what recommendations would you have for, say, just the average, you know, people on the street that might have a small family and a mortgage and
Yeah.
things like that?
I'm going to say something that might be a little profound. I think as a consumer, you need to treat your financial well-being the same way you treat your health. Um, your doctor is a resource, but ultimately your health is your responsibility. It's up to you to know what to do. Let them advise you. And insurance is really the same way. I think one of the mistakes the consumer makes is not being educated. I think not being financially educated is a horrible mistake for you as a consumer. And let me explain what I mean by that. Let's take auto insurance for example. There's a company that I won't name, but they are really great about giving low introductory rates. And the reason they give low introductory rates is they do not run a motor vehicle report on their applicants when you first take out a policy. So they give you a great introductory rate. They run the motor vehicle report on your renewal. And so if you have any black marks on your driving record, that renewal comes with some sticker shock. And if you were an educated consumer, if you'd just taken a little bit of time to understand the way auto insurance works, if you took a little time to understand how risk is assessed, how rates are determined, if you were to educate yourself on how to bundle and save money or some things you could do to reduce some costs, you'd be better off. And so I think the first step is take control of your situation. Take the time to educate yourself a little bit. A little reading is not going to hurt you. There is so much information available to you right now that shame on you if you don't do a little reading first. And here's why I say that, because you actually want to be able to ask questions of the people that you are going to consider to be your advisor in this area of your life. Because if they advise you poorly, um, Lord help you when you really need the service. My family and I went through a tornado in 2001, destroyed our home.
Oh,
And I was so thankful that I had a great insurance agent because we had coverage for the house, we had coverage for the cars, we had coverage for the lawn, we had coverage for the trees, we had coverage for a lot of different things. And so not only were we made whole, but it actually put us in a great place as we rebuilt. And I had friends whose agents didn't do such a good job, who didn't steer them correctly, and they didn't come out of the recovery so well. They didn't have quite enough coverage. And so they weren't able to rebuild the way they needed to. They weren't able to replace things the way they needed to. They had to look for other alternatives, or they had to reach into their own pocket, which nobody wants to do. That's, why we buy insurance is to help mitigate risk. And so, I think the thing I want to say there, Chris, is start with educating yourself a little bit, and then go find the person who you just personally know, like, and trust. I always look for who's an agent that I just get along with. That do they understand me? Do they understand who I am, what I do, what makes me tick, and what are my objectives? And let me just say this to your audience. There are two types of agents out there. There are agents who sell policies and they know their product, but they're not really practitioners, meaning they don't understand you. They understand their product, but their application of product to person is not all that great. They're technicians.
Right.
And then there's practitioners. And practitioners are like a good doctor. They're going to take the time to understand you, your family, your needs, your dreams, your hopes, your fears, and they're going to help match up the right coverage to the things you're trying to accomplish. And so part of that is finding the person who's a good practitioner, who understands you, who kind of resonates with you. Part of what I coach agents on when I'm trying to coach them on how to find you, the consumer, is to really showcase who they are. Are you all about family? Are you a car buff? Are you a sports fan? What are you? Put it out there. Let people get to know who you are. And you want to find somebody who resonates with you. The last thing you want to do is work with an agent who doesn't get you, who doesn't understand you, or you know. I meet a lot of agents who they've been in the business too long and they're just kind of checked out mentally.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, and you don't want to work with that agent. You want to work with somebody who really is going to be a partner with you in the long term. And so that's a long-winded answer to a very short question, but I think it starts with you as the consumer. You've got to educate yourself. You can't abdicate your responsibility to understand what it is you need to accomplish.
And to that point, I want to add something here because there are great resources out there for people who can, if you've got a question, I get, we always get the basic questions. Well, I don't understand the difference between life, whole life, and term life, or I don't understand what a elimination period is, and things like that. Um, you know, there's a website out there called Investopedia, and it's just, you could type in elimination period and it'll explain it to you like your Forrest Gump. I mean, it's a great, if you just want to learn those kind of basic skills and learn just what the terminology is and how things work. Not to toot my own horn, but I've been doing a blog for like 2 or 3 years where I go in there and I explain, is your agent an independent agent or is he a captive agent? There's a huge difference in what kind of products and services those kinds can sell. If you're a captive agent, you can only sell what the company tells you can sell. And I always equate that to shoes. Oddly enough, if you wore a size 5 shoe and you went to the shoe store and they say, well, we only sell even number sizes. Well, maybe you don't, they're going to try to make it fit, but it's not going to be the fit that you need. So, like what you're saying is that once you know the basic lay of the land there and how just the knowledge, how things work, how your deductible works, how things are going to, if your deductible is higher, then the premium is going to be lower, things like that. Then they can do like you're saying and say, look, now I need to find that person who I have a little bit more, we're on the same wavelength. They know me, I know them. And I've always found that the best insurance agents are not transactional. but they build a little bit of rapport with you. It does, when they say relationship selling, I hate that term because it sounds like, we're going to be buddies. I don't need to be your buddy. I just need to know a little bit about you so I can kind of get a feel for what you're doing and what your goals are. And that's where coming in and talking and saying, okay, now I found this person. Now we're on the same page. So that's my 2 cents worth on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
um, when you're so so is there a specific or several uh, avenues that you would recommend for the average person out there who's trying to find that person? It's almost like dating, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
online dating.
Yeah, very, very much so. I think there's a couple things. You want to look at reviews. Go to the person's Google business profile for sure. Look at the reviews. What are other people saying about that agent? Um, just look for that real world feedback. Anymore, everybody leaves reviews.
Yeah,
And so what is the feedback? Um, and but not just what are other people saying. Look at how the agent is responding to people's feedback, especially if there's some negative feedback. What kind of response are you seeing? Is it good? Um, and what are the consistent themes in that feedback? And one of the things you'll find with Google now is Google in the feedback actually is segmenting. Here's common terms that are showing up: service, pricing. What is it? What are the common terms? The other place to go though, if you really want to get the feel for the personality of the agency or the agent, is go to their social media, especially Facebook. Just take a look at what's going on in the office. Are these people that seem to be somebody I would want to work with? And here's the interesting thing, Chris. I'm going to share this. I was working with trying to get coverage for our church um, over the last year and a half. And I was amazed at how many agents would not call us back to give us a quote on covering our buildings. Like, this is a $30,000 a year policy. And they would come out and walk through and then never call us or not return the call when we would say, hey, we'd like you to come quote this. We're looking for new coverage. So that's the piece that reviews are going to help you figure out. The social media is going to help you figure out. Are these people responsive? Are they taking care of their customers? You just want to look for those types of things,
yeah.
especially on. Oh,
I've
go ahead.
worked in those offices with those people that don't return phone calls, and the bad thing is, I've walked in with a silver platter and said, "Here's somebody who's waiting for you to call them because they were doing P&C or property and casualty. I was doing life and health, and I'm like, this guy needs a quote. Yeah, I'll get to him later." And 4 days
Exactly.
later, they still haven't called the person, and I'm the face that they saw last. And then next time I see them, they're like, I see somebody. I mean, this literally happened to me. I went into an office cold calling one day. Just, it was a little mortgage office, and these people just ripped me a brand new one because I had told them that somebody was going to call them, and the guy never did. And this
Mhm.
was like a year later, and they were still mad at me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, it's kind of the point now where I'm, giving referrals in a defensive manner. Like, like, I'm only going to give referrals to people that I know are going to pick up that phone and call that person back,
Yeah.
because if they're not calling them, then what's going to happen when they have a claim or if they have a billing issue or something?
That's it.
So,
That's so critical. And here's the other piece too, especially dealing with life and health. I think this becomes even more important because especially as a life and health customer, you're going to disclose a lot of private information.
yeah,
Property and casualty. Okay, I'm going to tell you about my house, and yeah, there's some things, but I'm going to get pretty personal with you on a health app, on a life app. And so I want to work with somebody I feel comfortable with.
yeah,
And if I don't feel comfortable with you, I really don't want to have that conversation. And so I think, finding somebody that just truly resonates with you. And I'll give you a great example. My personal insurance agent, this is one of the reasons I chose to work with him. Uh, his social media, he went on a quest to find the best taco shop in Wichita, Kansas, him and his buddy. And for a year, they visited every taco shop in Wichita, Kansas. So population of Wichita is about 650,000. So I don't know how many taco shops there are. So they narrowed it down to their top 10. And then they went back to the top 10. This thing even got press coverage. I mean, it became such a big deal. And I had so much fun watching him, test out every taco shop in Wichita, Kansas. And I'm like, I just like this guy.
Yeah.
And then I got to know him through a networking group and just really, really developed a good friendship with him and said, this is just somebody I want to work with. And so he's earned, uh, all of my family's business over the last 10 years, just because of the relationship. He's just somebody I like, I trust, I know well. We enjoy the same movies. We tend to, show up at premieres of Star Wars and Marvel movies and look over my shoulder at the IMAX and there he is, and so there's just, a lot of those things in common.
Yeah.
And so I knew this is somebody I want to do business with.
Yeah, and social media, sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the right thing or not, because my whole philosophy is if I'm talking about life insurance all day long, what you're really talking about is somebody dying.
Mm.
Um, and it's a very, very, people, you don't want to come in like Bozo the Clown and just start yucking it up. But at the same time, you can put a little levity to it. And so anybody that's ever looked at my social media, there's a lot of tongue in cheek humor, a little sarcasm. Here's the guy that needs dental insurance, and there might be 10 rows of teeth or whatever, just silly stuff. Um, but sometimes I'm wondering, does this guy, do people take me seriously or not?
Yes.
But then other people go like, hey, I enjoy that. That's, so you're going to always attract the people that are like yourself, I guess, in some regard. And if people think that I'm a little silly or just being goofy, that's fine as long as they get it and know that when it comes to the actual work, I'm going to be serious and
Mm.
you know. But anyway, well, do you have any final words on this for us before we end this? Any sage advice for our viewers for seeking out a good insurance agent?
No, I think the other piece of that is just make sure, you have a good confidence, not just in the agent, but in the company that they represent. And so don't just research that agent. Obviously, that's the front line of who you're going to work with, but make sure that there's strong claims paying ability in the company behind them. That's the other thing that you don't want to get to the end of the process and actually need that company to come through for you and find out that there's a problem there. And so, do your homework. Again, at the end of the day, the responsibility's on you to do a little bit of research, do a little bit of checking. And that's really my story from the tornado. Those that struggled were those that hadn't really gone with companies that were of the greatest strength in claims paying. And so, that doesn't mean you have to always go with the name brand company, but you need to do your research and make sure, is this company known for following through on claims? Do they do it in a timely manner? Do they tend to fight with their customers over claims that are filed? And I'm going to give you one more little horror story here from my own personal, my little gripe here. This last year, I had a tree fall on a rental house. And so we called the insurance company, and the claim adjuster came out and he says, "Oh, no, that, there's not enough damage here to file a claim. So, we're not going to do anything with it." But probably about $500 or $600, somebody come patch it up for you. So, okay, fine. Uh, 3 weeks later, I get a letter from the insurance company. Hey, our claim adjuster was out. Your roof is old, and if you don't replace the whole thing, we're not going to cover it again next year. Okay, so there's not enough damage there for you to fix it.
The,
but now you're going to tell me I have to replace the whole thing.
right.
So just do your research and check out how companies are operating right now. And so claims, how companies are handling claims is something you do want to research. So even if you've got a great agent, and so my agent that I work with, he's my buddy. Now the good thing is he put me onto a good roofer, and so it got us taken care of. But and that's part of the value of a good agent. He was able to still help me resolve it effectively, but it gave me a little sour taste for the company. Am I going to want to write more policies with that company? Maybe not. And so those are things you want to look at, and especially when you're dealing with life and health. Um, you know, roofs are one thing. Your health, your family's well-being if something happens to you, those are things you don't want to have up in the air.
Right.
And so be sure to really research who's the claim payer behind that agent.
All right. Well, that's awesome. And all right, well, we're gonna wrap this up, and everybody check out Carl's business if you are interested in if you're an insurance agent. He's a great resource. He's got a great YouTube channel, and what we'll do is we'll put links to Carl's contact information in the show notes on our YouTube channel here. And I want to thank you for being on here. I know your time is valuable while you're there in
Thank
Vegas.
you. Yeah,
Give Wayne Newton my regards.
I'll do that.
And we want to thank you for coming on. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact Wayne, Carl, or me. Not Wayne.
Or
Wayne's not
Wayne.
there. Wayne might be able to help you today. So I want to thank you all, and thanks for coming on. We
Hey, thanks,
appreciate it.
Chris.